Welcome to Resilience Redefined. I'm your host, Michael Osterlink. This show is about building better humans, institutions, and systems. On the show, I'll be interviewing many different experts from across many different fields, including human optimization, health and fitness, team building, mind-body medicine. In the institutional space, we're looking at different institutions and how we can create new ones, new models and maps, including in medicine, in education, in intelligence community, in law enforcement, in the military, especially in the special operations community. Thanks for being here and enjoy the show.
Today, I'm joined by Michael Santonato, a financial educator, investor focused on one core mission, helping people become financially indestructible. Michael's work is grounded in real experience, building wealth, losing it, and rebuilding with wisdom. He teaches people how to think clearly about money, risk, investing, and long-term stability in an uncertain world. This is not hype or theory, it's education, mindset, and practical strategy. I'm excited to explore how financial resilience fits into a broader conversation about leadership, stress, and freedom. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Pleasure to be here, man.
Yeah, and not only obviously we're going to dive into your background and your story, but I do want to congratulate you right off. You have a book that literally just came out,
Uh,
available. So I just want to do a shout out to you. What's the title of the book?
How to become financially indestructible.
It's kind of perfect. Part of the introduction. Yeah, there you go. All right, I love it.
Might be flipped backwards of the camera, but
So we will be talking about your new book. Literally, it just came out, which is very cool. Before we even dive into your offerings and stuff, what got you into money as a vehicle to build a more resilient life? Indestructible life is the term you use.
yeah, thank you. Two things. One is that I was very fortunate and born to parents who were bank managers. So my mom and dad worked in the bank. They spent 30 years in the bank. Raised four kids. I'm the youngest of four.
Mhm.
And they passed on all the knowledge and lessons and learnings of how a bank works, how money works, everything from interest and credit cards and savings rates and, mutual funds and buying your first home and all these things, just everything. We did taxes together for 10 years sitting on my dad's computer. So that financial education was a absolute, foundation for me. My first rental property at 22 and my first, stock portfolio going at 19, all thanks to my parents. Completely all thanks to them, you know what I mean? But I never thought I'd be in this line of work. It wasn't until I was married and my partner had three kids and she was widowed and we were married and all of that stuff and we're living together and hanging out just on the couch one night just watching a movie and with the kids, and I just couldn't focus on the movie. I was so distracted. I was looking at these kids out of the corner of my eye going, like, who's going to teach you about money? Like, nobody's teaching you about money in school. Hey, what'd you learn in school today? Anything about money? Nope, like day after day, right? So I just was thinking, like, somebody's got to teach these kids about money. Like, so I don't know who it's gonna be, but and then it's just like, duh, like,
You.
yeah, it's gotta be you. Like your parents did it for you. You gotta do it for them, you goof. So I said, oh yeah, I gotta like really actually put the time in like my parents did, and I gotta do this. And then I realized it's the same situation for 95% of families easily. No financial education in school, in religion or church or in the community. They don't have time to educate themselves. They don't know what to do, what not to do, and the products and the language is confusing. So I said, this is a huge need. This is just a massive need. And so it all just kind of came together and got my financial advising license and then been doing that for almost 10 years, wrote the book. The book was a 3-year labor of love over COVID, and then finally got it done and published.
That is fantastic. Congratulations once again on the book.
Thank
So,
you.
as you said, you've been doing this for a little while. What are you finding when you talk to people about money? Like, what are at CLFA we call it a boo, background of obviousness, like things people can't see because literally right in front of them.
Right.
What are some of those things that you've noticed that people like just can't see?
Yeah. A lot of the complaints that I hear are synonymous. Doesn't matter Canada, America, wherever, even Europe, like the language is confusing, people say. There's so many products, there's so many options. I don't know what to do with my money. I don't know where my money goes. Some people make good money, but they don't know where it goes. In this weird world we live in, you can make $1 million a year and spend $2 million a year. So those kinds of complaints are kind of the same. The banks don't tell me anything. I got money at the bank, but I don't know what I should be doing with it. I think it can be working harder for me. I know your money's supposed to work hard for you, but I don't know what to do with it, and it's just a lot of overwhelm and confusion. That's been pretty consistent.
Consistent. In this process of working with people, helping them open to eyes about all the different possibilities, what have you learned about yourself?
Yeah, that's a awesome question. I don't think anybody's asked me that question. In this process, what I've learned for myself is I am I am not invincible, which is why I wrote the book How to Become Financially Indestructible, because I'm on this journey too.
Yeah.
And there's always more to learn about money. Like I started working with a lot more business owners recently, and they have, you know, a different set of problems and a different set of questions and queries. And then because now everyone has information with YouTube and things like that, people are finding information and they'll send me like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And so, just yesterday I learned about the average individual investing in private equity, which traditionally private equity is reserved for accredited investors. And private equity, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically firms that buy other firms and grow other companies, and that's their business. And you can invest in those businesses. And Tony Robbins just wrote a book, and he's doing all these interviews and all this press and promotion right now on this book on how, yeah, you can get 9% in the stock market, but private equity has done about 26% on
Wow.
average. Yeah, on average for the last 40, 50 years. So now people are asking those kinds of questions. So what I learned about myself in the process is there's always more for me to learn. There's always more for me to grow into and establish and get better and better and better at. And that's one of the cool things about money is that it's an infinite game. It has no end. You know what I mean? It goes on till infinity.
Right, right, right. Now, would you say you're learning, when you first started compared to now, what are the things that show up like, oh, this is new, I'm studying, I'm learning 5 years ago, this is different 10 years ago. And give me some examples of like, holy moly, this is the new space for me to explore, cutting edge for me.
Yeah, it's a great question. I will publicly, shamelessly admit that I made my first million and lost my first $1 million in crypto. So you could say I was an early adopter in Bitcoin and crypto. I bought my first Bitcoin in 2017 when it was 3,000 Canadian, which means it was like 2,200 American at the time, right? Made my first million in crypto, lost my first million in crypto, made a whole bunch of really dumb mistakes. But at the time, I didn't know there were mistakes, of course. And so that was about, where are we now? 2026. That was about 3.5 years ago. You know, that was cool. Um, so I'm not immune from mistakes, and what I've learned about myself and what I've seen change in the last few years is the amount of scams. Like, the amount of scams are getting more and more complex, more and more advanced, more and more seemingly legitimate, but are definitely not. And so, I lost that million, a good chunk of it, by getting screwed over by a scam. I had this guy I was investing with. We were investing together for a few years. He was producing amazing returns, was paying everybody out, me and some friends and some family and people, paying us out every year, really good returns, really good returns. And then one day it all just disappeared. And he just disappeared with all the money. And it ended up being a pyramid and a Ponzi, and the FBI interviewed me and the RCMP interviewed me. And it was so elaborate. It was so elaborate and well done, and we met this guy church, he went to church and, giving him chunks of money and meeting him in person and meeting his family. So elaborate, like, so it's just like no one is immune and the scams are getting more and more complex. So investing in trusted institutions and trusted people and doing an even greater degree of due diligence is more important than ever.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Sorry to hear about the loss. You sound like a lot of lessons learned. Okay.
Tons, tons.
Yeah.
I'm I'm not worried about it because I learned that, hey, I made 1,000,000, I can make it again. If I've done it once, I can do it again, you know what I mean? So I'm on to my next one.
So, like, you already talked about trusting institutions and obviously finding someone like yourself that you can trust
to help you understand what to invest in. But if someone's listening to this, and I've shared this with you privately, I've been doing resilience work forever, but I've never done anything around money. Like
Yeah.
that's the blind spot for me.
Right.
And meeting you and talking, I'm like, holy shit, like that's dumb on my part. And I have to imagine, there are other people like me out there who like haven't given a lot of thought to it as
Right.
part of a resilience program for yourself and your family.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to talk to me about like, if I was going to parse out the market, here's some things I would encourage a client to start thinking about, or at least be aware of. So when I do work with them, they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for
Fiat
sure.
currency, like how do banks work, and the different investment vehicles and
Yeah, exactly.
look like.
Yeah, I'm flipping through the book here looking for a specific page, but basically there's a diagram that everyone should know. There's an essential, education piece that everyone should know, which is the financial house. So the financial house is basically a house. You think about a house with different levels. And the funny thing is people try to build their financial house top down. So what that means is they start with their goals and dreams and then worry about or focus on investments. I got to invest my money, so, that sort of thing. Then they forget about debt and they forget about protection. And oftentimes in the worst of cases, they forget about their income. But the proper way a financial house is built is in the same way that any house is built. Any building, skyscraper, condo, office building, doesn't matter. It all starts with the foundation. What do they do with the foundation? They dig underground, they peel away the dirt, and they put a foundation of really strong concrete under the earth. Okay. Then the first level is level above ground. And that is like where the first layer of the house or the building, the lobby goes. In the financial house, it goes income and then protect that income. What people neglect the most is ironically the thing they should take care of immediately, which is protecting that income. So protecting looks like different forms of insurance products or protection products that keep your income in place, since the rest of the house is dependent upon your income, because you can only build as high up as your foundation is deep. So your foundation is your income. That's what everything is based on top of. If you have kids or wife or spouse or business or people that depend on you, even if you're taking care of an elderly person in your house, taking care of your income and protecting it should be priority number one, because rent, clothes, food, entertainment, lifestyle, like the gas bill, heating, things like that, that will all come from your income. So protecting your income through the right products like critical illness insurance or disability insurance or accident insurance or a health plan in America or life insurance, right? The wealthy, I study them like mad. The one percenters, the 0.1 percenters, they buy tons of insurance because they hate risk. They want to eliminate risk and pass off the risk to an insurance company. That's what they're doing. So as soon as a child is born, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, they all buy different insurance products for the kid because it'll always be cheap the younger you are, right? After protection, after you've protected your income, then you have to eliminate debt, because debt is the next level that can really hurt people. And most people get into debt at some point, whether it's paying for medical bills or starting a business or tuition for their kids or whatever. Debt can eat away at your peace of mind, your power, your finances, your cash flow, all of that. That's going to make you very vulnerable, opposite of financially indestructible.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Once you've taken care of that level, then the next level in the house is investments and savings, because your money can work harder than you can, and it should work really hard for you. And you should be investing, otherwise, you'll be working until the day you die. Then the last level is goals and dreams. So,
Ah.
what most people do is they focus on the roof first and then top down. But you never see anywhere in construction anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's New York, Toronto, Chicago, wherever. They never bring in the roof with a crane and tell the guys, "Hey guys, okay, so now build the rest," you know, top
Yeah,
to
yeah.
bottom. They just don't do that. It's bottom up. So for you in your line of work, resiliency or indestructibility is about building your financial house the right way up.
I love that. That is a fantastic model. Let's break down each of the floors of the model, and I'm really curious on the psychological side of things,
Sure.
because I have to imagine most people have some sense of insecurities or fears around money, and I'm wondering
Yep.
what of those things might show up at the income level, at the insurance level, that you just shared at, what's,
Yeah.
what was after insurance?
Debt elimination,
Debt elimination,
investments and
investments
savings,
and savings, and then,
goals and dreams.
goals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So break each one down and just share with me the kind of the psychology behind it.
Sure. That's a really cool question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that either. So there's a whole host of things that come up. Let's just call it like mindset or mentality, right? Psychologically, at each level. So the way you see money is the way you'll interact with money. So before the book starts with like, it starts with the explanation of the financial house, that sort of thing. But before I get into actual products and like the levels in depth, I say, where I talk about your relationship to money, how you relate to a thing governs how you interact with it, right? So like Wayne Dyer famously said, what you look at, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right? So your relationship to money is everything. Um, what I would say psychologically at the income level is a lot of self-worth, a lot of deserving, right? Am I deserving of it? Am I worthy? Lots of worthiness. People that have a great degree of worthiness, they just go out and crush it. They just go out and make money. Belief in yourself, same thing, right? You have to have a high degree of confidence to land high positions in jobs in companies, let's say, or sell a great deal in businesses or build big businesses, right? So self-image is really key as well. Making money is key for your self-image. Your self-image will dictate, kind of like your how much you ask for, right? Spoke to a very capable woman just the other day, um, medical nurse working for a government job. Typically, I'm thinking in Canada, 70,000 to 90,000 or more for an income. And I found out she's only making $50,000.
Wow.
And she's been doing this for 15 years. So immediately I'm like, "Hey, red flag, like you deserve more. You've got a ton of experience, life and work. You deserve way more. What's going on there? We got to break that apart. You got to make some more." Especially in Toronto where we live, cost of living is very high. Um, there would be some work that I would do with her around that, around her unconscious mind.
Let me actually stop you there because I do know you have a strong background in a lot of like that kind of work. And I just want to encourage, like, let me ask you to share a little bit about your training and background, NLP and things like that, and how you
Sure.
bring some of those tools into this particular work with that client. As
For sure. Yeah, that's a great question. Great point. So yeah, I'm a master trainer. I'm a master level train to trainer of NLP.
yeah,
I don't do the NLP training as a service or as a line of business, but I do use it for myself and I use it with clients. So NLP is neuro linguistic programming, which is using language to program your reality and commanding authority through presence, power, communication, posture, things like that. So what I do is I work with people's unconscious mind because that's where the real meat is. 80-20 rule, 80% of your life is unconscious. We're actually in a unconscious brainwave state, the beta brainwave state for about 80% of our day. So we're on autopilot. That's that autopilot thing, 80%. So if you want to make a big difference with someone, which obviously I do, you do, working with someone's unconscious and their deeply rooted beliefs about themselves, about money, about others, that is massive. Like just to get the biggest effect with the littlest, time or effort.
mm,
So I'll spend about 3 to 5 hours with someone over 3 different sessions spread out, using some techniques and some painless, pain-free, simple methods to walk people through a process that allows them to release limiting decisions, limiting beliefs, and limiting emotions or negative emotions around money. And that just works miracles. That allowed me to earn my first six figures. That allowed me to have my best year in business last year, which is multi six figures, my first multi six figure year. And I've just seen miraculous results doing this work for over over 12 years now, doing this work with clients on that stuff.
okay. So, and then the next level where people have to, you recommend insurance against, life, basically, you know, which I actually have to acknowledge, I do have insurance, just in case I'm disabled, and so it'll cover my income. So
Good.
I'm not that, dumb.
Mm.
Yeah, inept. So, and I've had that for years. I've had that for years. But like, is that at that level, is that more of an education thing? But know that these things are you need, and they're what's even available? Oh,
Yeah, yeah, huge. Education is essential for all the levels, and especially the protection level. Why? Insurance gets a bad rap. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Insurance gets a bad rap. Some people actually think, and this is a mistake, but I have clients that are real estate investors, and I do spend a good amount of time educating people who are real estate investors. For people that are real estate investors or just asset rich people, they think, oh, my assets or my real estate or my investments will pay for things when I'm dead. Yeah, well, congratulations. What you just invited your family into is a lengthy process with the IRS, a time consuming process, and a period where they won't get the money and they'll have to go through paperwork and hoops and lawyers and all these things and accountants just to get that money. And guess what they're going to have to do in the meantime? They're going to have to pay for your funeral with that money, meaning in the meantime, they're going to have to liquidate their own assets or go into debt to pay for said
yeah,
funeral.
yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe where you live and maybe different parts of the US, funerals are not that expensive. In Toronto, where I'm from, population of 4.5 million people, you're looking at 20 to 30 grand
Shit.
or more. Yeah,
Okay.
for a funeral. And some people think also, oh, just put me in a box, arrogant, and just I don't need much of it. That's still 5 to 10 or 15 grand. Not even joking.
Wow.
So education, again, that's just the life insurance side. The other thing is accident insurance, disability insurance, critical illness insurance. Cancer is 1 in 4 people. Yes, we're living through it, but they have financial impacts,
Yeah.
right? Time off work, need home care worker, you need medication, drugs, scans, processes, time off work. People don't realize time is money, and you being off work or your family being off work, whether they work for themselves or are in a job, that's time off work. That's time is money. You're losing money,
Of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So, and then you got diabetes, you got all these other conditions that are costly and time consuming and things like that. So, and then you have accidents. I fractured my knee in France last year,
Mm,
right? Fell off a bike, hairline fracture on my knee, couldn't work for 2 weeks, crutches, leg brace, physio, rehab, all that stuff. Time away from my business. Thankfully, I had an accident policy,
yeah.
paid me a couple $1,000s. Yeah, pretty good for covering the bills and paying a week or two and a couple weeks of time off work. Absolutely, the protection level is an education thing because we take things for granted, and we take for granted the fact that time is money, and being away from your job or business is costing you money, and poo-poo does happen, shit does happen, right?
Yeah, 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 of course.
I fell off a bike, right? I got COVID. I was off for 2 weeks with that, right? I had, severe burnout in my first business in 2012, severe burnout, and my cortisol levels were through the roof. Doctor said, "You gotta be off work for 3 months." Man, this is time off work, like, this is just time and money, so these products exist to, again, pass the risk on to another company, so it's absolutely an education piece, and, I think you have to give up some pride, go back to the psychology, you gotta give up some pride. When I sit down with a husband and wife team, it doesn't really happen anymore. But in the beginning, it was happening where like the man would be like, "Well, she'll just sell the house, or she'll be fine with the savings," and the wife would look at him like, "Oh, really? You think I'm going to sell the family home? You think I'm going to sell the home to pay for your funeral and your ass after you're dead?" So there's a bit of a pride and an ego piece that has to
Yeah, yeah.
go with the first level.
Makes I'm curious on the debt piece, which I think is the next level.
Yes, it is.
And, my first question for you was like, oh, I have to imagine there's a lot of fear around debt. But I do wonder if that's actually true because it seems to me that a lot of people are in debt, here in the United States, our country's in debt. Almost every state is in debt. Like, we actually is like a debt nation, a debt global debt. Like it's crazy.
Totally.
What are you finding in terms of any of the psychological aspects around debt?
Yeah, great question. Um, Debt equals death. Like, but the thing is there's 2 different kinds of debt. There's good debt and there's bad debt,
Mm,
right? The psychological piece, it's more of an educational piece, but, like, it's a bit of a trap, like, the thing about the debt is that it can be a trap, and it's hard to get out. I don't know that it's so much about fear on the debt side as it is about, control and empowerment.
Yeah.
feeling out of control. You're at the mercy of the debtor, or the creditor, rather. The debtor is the individual. The creditor, the person issuing the credit. As soon as they use it, it turns into debt. So it's more about, I think, control and empowerment. It's also about being honest. Like when people are drowning in debt, they're living in like a fantasy world, right? Debt is so destructive because it compounds, and the rates are so high, especially on credit cards or these cash loans, payday loans, paycheck loans. Those things are horrible. The fees on debt are outside of the interest, and they're often tacked on.
Mhm.
So private mortgages and private lending for mortgages here in Canada is pretty big. It's a pretty huge market because our banks are very stringent on like whether or not you can afford a mortgage. Those rates can be very high, but every time someone does a private mortgage, there's fees to the lender, fees to the lawyers, fees to the advisor or the mortgage broker, lots of fees. So people got to be aware of these fees. They have to be in control. They have to be willing to take control. If they're in high amounts of debt, they have to start to say like, F that, fuck that debt. And they have to take control and say, I'm not doing that. I'm not living that way anymore. And start to use the different ways to get out of debt. There are different ways. There's about 5 good ways to get out of debt that anybody can do. But psychologically, to go back to your question, I find it's about control. It's about power. It's about seizing control. Debt really equals slavery, really. In ancient times, people who had debts became slaves or were slaves. And even in America, how did you earn your freedom? You had to pay off your debt. You had to work off your debt. Well, you're a free man. You're a free man when you have no debt, when you paid off your debt. And then your point about the economy, it's really ironic because the economy is built on debt.
Yeah. It's kind of sad. Yeah.
It's quite sad, right? What I dislike about, this one aspect of the American debt system is there's like a clock or a couple of clocks digitally and physically in different cities that say,
Yeah.
the average individual's share. Well, you're not signing that's ridiculous. That's unfair. The individual father or mother is not signing $3 trillion debt bills into the Senate or into the government. But that's what the politicians are doing. They're signing every day billions and trillions of dollars of debt. Shouldn't be fair to pass that on to the individual.
Well, I agree. And I'll tell you a funny story. I think you and you might know that I did about 20 years of public policy as well as all my coaching and therapy work. And I did foreign policy and defense, national security type stuff. And I remember during the Obama administration that he was pivoting to Asia. And one of his big things is, I think it was like 2,500 US Marines to Australia, as an example. May have been a little bit more. And I'm like, do you know who's paying for that? Because it was a bulwark against China and China's expansionism. And do you know who's actually paying for US forces to be in Australia to protect against China?
Right.
China. It's such a fucking game. It's so silly.
It is silly. When you think about I'm glad we're here in the conversation. Because when you think about the world, think about the countries that are literally borrowing and buying trillions of dollars of debt from each other. It's just so silly. It's just monopoly money. It's just so silly. Like it's the most ridiculous system when you think about it. Like in COVID and after COVID, the US was printing trillions of dollars to stimulate the economy, right? And I did the math one day and it was like an obscene amount of money. Like, we're talking, like, hundreds of millions of dollars of debt, of interest payments only. Interest-only payments, not principal payments in debt that the US would be paying at a very simple conservative 1% interest rate each month. Just think about and then the greatest, owner of America's debt is Japan, I think, right?
Yeah, I think it's the Japanese and
Right?
China's close and Saudi is pretty close to that.
Yeah. It's funny, it's nuts, it's like they're half a world away, but it's like
Yeah.
they own so much of the debt, and they just keep printing more, and they just keep making more. Money itself is made up. There's a fantastic documentary I love so much called The Laundromat on
I know
Netflix.
that one. Okay. Alright.
Absolutely must watch for everybody. Meryl Streep, like, never mind Meryl Streep, but, like, just phenomenal, phenomenal movie about money and the American, system, and, of course, I also love, The Big Short, the Hollywood movie,
Oh, no
which
idea.
The Big Short is you gotta see that. That's like a Hollywood movie Brad Pitt, like Steve Carell, like phenomenal about specifically the 2008 crash. And you just see how funny it is, the system, the monopoly money of it all.
Well, yeah, I don't not to get too much into public policy, but I co-led the effort and audited the Fed after the 2008 collapse. And I think it was around 2011 we got the audit, and we found out that the Federal Reserve loaned about $14 trillion to domestic banks, foreign and domestic banks and businesses. And I was like waiting for a revolution on the street, like $14 trillion to their friends globally.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. We had like Rand Paul types, libertarian types who like, this is horrible. We had Bernie Sanders who like, this is horrible. But like nothing from the mainstream media.
yeah,
And I'm like, whoa, if this doesn't cause, people to come to the streets and say, what the hell is our
right.
financial services industry up to? Like,
Yeah,
we're screwed.
yeah. And then for the whole 2008 thing, everything, only one guy went to jail, like of all the massive frauds and crimes, like other, but like, and the individuals didn't get any money in 2008, right? I guess they learned their lesson in COVID and they gave stimulus checks to individuals. But in 2008, 2009, the average mom and pop shop, the average individual didn't get any of that money, man.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So it's goofy.
all right. On top of the debt,
Uh,
what's the next level above debt? That wasn't, then that's investments, right?
You got it. Yeah, investments and savings is after eliminating debt. Now, let me explain for a moment why paying off the debt is first and before investments and savings. Because
Okay.
the debt rates and the interest rates on debt are higher than your average like ROI return rate of return on your
Yeah,
investments.
that
So
makes
some people, I see some clients who are like doing both. They're like investing or they're paying debt or they're like, should I do one or should I do the other? And I always say let's do the math because I want to show them. I want them to see it for themselves. Math is the language of money. So I pull up my share screen, Zoom calculator, and I go, let's do the math, right? We do the math, and it's clearly obvious like paying off your debt is a greater urgency because it will net you more in the end than investing, right?
okay.
So I'm like, attack the debt, attack the debt. And there's 5 different ways to get out of debt that are in the book.
That's
About
that's neat.
investments.
Read the book.
Grab the money, $30 for an awesome financial education. Come on.
I got the book.
You did. Yeah, I saw that in your post. It was awesome on Instagram. Thank you so much. So for the investments and savings, what's there psychologically? I think again, a little bit of humility where we have to realize that our money can work harder than we can. Your money can work 24/7. It doesn't need to sleep, doesn't need to eat or be fed or drink water. It can just work 24/7. You cannot, right? And then if you don't invest as well, you literally will be working for the rest of your life, pretty much until the day you die, right? Social security is not enough. In Canada, it's not enough either. It's only a portion. So you have to have something that in retirement will cover and make up the difference.
Mm.
Um, Savings and investing, you have to also, another education piece, you have to have the knowledge that as you invest more, you'll have more. Like, this is a message for the people that don't have a lot to invest. They're like, "Oh, I'll invest later in the future or when I have money, I'll invest." No, no, you need to start right now. Doesn't matter if it's $50 a month. Start with something because you're telling yourself, "I have." You're demonstrating to the universe and to your unconscious mind, "I have, and I can practice delayed gratification right now because I'm willing to forego immediate gratification now for growth later." Right? Time is the great equalizer with money. Time works its magic on money. 9% on the S&P 500 on average, most insurance
Excuse me.
bless you. Most insurance policies on a whole life that is an investment insurance policy type that will pay 6 to 8% annually as well. So you have to have the education piece of these products and what they'll do for you, but you have to be willing to sacrifice now, delay gratification, delay the dopamine, and put the money aside for later. And Jack and the Beanstalk, let it grow, plant the seeds and let it grow, and forget about it. Wake up the next morning and or next year, and it'll be more. You know what I mean? So psychologically, having that courage, if you will, maybe that humility as well, and that clarity and control and discernment and discipline to delay immediate gratification and do it on a long-term consistent basis as well. It's habitual. The thing about investments and savings psychologically is it's a habit. Savings is a habit. My
Yeah.
parents taught me every week or every 2 weeks, have it automatically, so you don't even have to think about it. Have the money automatically go from your bank account into that product so
Mhm.
that you're not even thinking about it. It's automatic. It's a habit, habitual.
That's smart. And actually, I'm just thinking out loud. I have a young man who's a client, and one of the things he's been talking about is investments. I'm going to send him your book as a gift for the new year. Yeah, okay, cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Look at that. Thank you.
Investments and savings. He wants to save more and invest. So both of those things fit with what he's interested in doing. And he's not in debt. So that's good. On top of that is more the aspirational, the goals, the
Yes.
vision. So, do most people have that? Do they know what they should be aspiring to?
Yeah, good question. Everybody has goals and dreams for sure, spoken or unspoken, often some spoken, some known, some unknown, but everyone has goals and dreams, ambition, right? You just live your life and you see things or you experience things and you're like, I want that, right? I want that one day, or that's going to be mine. So, I think everyone does have the goals and dreams. The courage to go after them is another thing, a whole nother, ball game. But coming to the financial model, the goals and dreams come later. And the funny thing is, everything's ironic, I swear, everything's backwards. The funny thing is when you build your house with the right foundation and all those levels, and you do all those levels, the goals and dreams take care of themselves.
Okay.
Right? That's the funny thing is when you've taken care of your debt, when you're making a good income, when you've got the right protection products, when you're investing and saving on a regular basis, your goals and dreams just kind of happen. They will happen, they can happen because you've got a financial house full of integrity. You've built it the right way. And the goals and dreams just happen in time. If you're letting your money work for you, if you're not in crazy amounts of debt, if you've got the plans and the protection products for setbacks, because like I said, poo poo does happen, right?
Yes, that's
Get sick, fall off, a bike and fracture a bone and get a diagnosis, whatever, then you're prepared for those financial impacts. You're braced by them. The goals and dreams just kind of happen. I do throw in the money on the goals and dreams when I work with someone and I'm doing advising or consulting. We do the math on the goals and dreams. So you want a vacation to France in 3 years. You want a vacation to a special island. You want to go back to your hometown. You want to do a 3 month trip in the summertime with your kids when they're off university or something like that. 2 months. We put the financial plan in place and run the numbers of what you need to start saving now or how much you need to start putting away so that that's done. Disney World is crazy hella expensive for some people, but it's a huge dream for a lot of people with young kids, right? So that's a beautiful one. Some people just want to pay off their mortgage, pay off their house, be debt free, right?
Mhm.
Mortgage is a huge debt that accumulates, an extraordinary amount of interest over time. So some people think smartly, like, I want to pay that off early. So um, everyone's goals and dreams are different, but I think the two main points are they happen automatically when you take care of everything and everything takes care of itself. And then also do the math on them, run the numbers, like start to calculate how far away is that goal and dream because they do take time to achieve, and that's normal.
Well, this is great. It's so nice to have a visual map and then to talk through each of those steps. And then you said it's in your book. What's the title of the book one more time?
How to become financially indestructible.
Nice. And where can people find your book?
It's on Amazon. It's on, Barnes& and Noble as well. Everybody uses Amazon, so it's on Amazon. There's a hardcover, there's a paperback, and then there's the ebook, and soon the, audiobook. I'll need a good
It's right because I order that as well because I listen to books all day. Gosh. So
Yeah, man.
that's perfect.
Very
You know,
cool.
and you also offer other things as well. Like talk a little bit about some of your other offerings besides us.
Yeah, for sure, yeah, I mentioned I do the advising and the consulting. I put financial plans in place. I'm on a mission to end financial misery on planet Earth and bring the world into financial prosperity. That's our mission, that's our company, that's our business. My main thing right now is actually we just launched taxes as a service,
Mhm.
tax advisory, tax preparation for clients. Right now, only Canadians, because we've just found so many people that are frustrated and getting ghosted by their accountants, or they disappear, or they went on mat leave and they didn't tell them, or they're never mind, they're not making the right deductions and claims, and people are overpaying the government. So we're focusing on taxes right now, but I do have an overall financial advisory and planning business. And then I've got the work that I do with people on their unconscious mind, rewire those money beliefs, those money habits, limiting beliefs. That's transformational, super powerful work there. really rewarding.
That's one-on-one?
That is one-on-one, yeah, that has a higher cost because it's one-on-one, but, like, the dividends that you get from that are just amazing. And then I've got a whole slew of, online courses as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah,
Share with
crypto.
Yep.
Yeah, everything you need to know about Bitcoin and crypto in 2 hours, that's one of them, that's a bestseller. I've got one on the basics of investing and the financial system and how that works. And I've got, because I left Canada in COVID, and I mostly live abroad, remote work, you know what I mean? So how to, like, leave your country for a better lifestyle, working abroad, how to choose the right country, how to know where to live, factoring in safety, security, medical expenses. I lived that experience in Mexico and then in Colombia, and then I just come back here to Toronto to visit family and friends and clients occasionally.
That's awesome. And with so many digital nomads as a movement, that's
Yeah,
got to be a really, really, really valuable and popular course, I could imagine. Now, I just want to be clear. So, like, all the courses are available for anyone all over the globe.
yep,
The taxes and your financial consulting is for Canada, but your financial consulting is also for the States.
that's right. Yeah, the systems are basically the same in Canada and the US.
Okay.
I create financial plans and pathways for people in Canada and the US. The systems are basically exactly the same, just like the words are different. You know what I
Okay.
mean? What you guys call a 401k, we call it RRSP. What you call a Roth IRA, we call it TFSA, but it's the same system.
Well, when you guys become the 51st state, you'll know.
Hey man, anything's possible.
So, where can people find all of these great products that you offer, including your book? You said
Sure.
your book on Amazon, but I know you have a website too.
Yeah, books on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Books also on my website. My website, michaelsantonato.com, is basically the portal for everything. Um, the courses are on truefinancialeducation.com. And yeah, I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that good
Well,
stuff.
I'll make sure to include all those in the show notes.
Thank
Michael, it's been great to talk to you. It's been very enlightening. I'm very much looking forward to diving into your various programs, including I can't wait to listen to your book. It's asking me a lot of fun. And I
thank
just
you.
wish you much success in how many people do you want to affect in this world, make them financially indestructible?
Yeah, my mentor said, your dream should be as big as, like, it'll take you 10 lifetimes. So I don't have, like, a number.
Okay.
The mission is to end financial misery on
Ah, so I love that's awesome. From your lips
so
to God's ears, maybe so.
maybe. Thank you.
Yeah. Great to see you, Michael. Have a great night, man.
Thank you, Michael.